superpower women have. Multitasking.
Yeah, well, I have some arguments with the whole notion of multitasking, but we'll
Yeah.
leave that for another time. But
No, I know. Some people say it doesn't exist. I just feel like I can move my,
yes, you
but
can.
that's also part of my ADD brain is I can do two things at once.
Yes. Well, they've had studies that when women are together with women only, their conversations go from A to J, J to D, and really all over the place. And a man walking in would describe that as being, cockeyed and frittery, and they're so scatterbrained and blah blah blah. Like
Right.
scatterbrain is a bad thing. They are able to track and keep the plot. Right?
You should hear Mia and I in our production meetings. We're all over the place.
Yes, but as soon as a man walks into a room of women, they'll dumb it down and go from A to B to C to D to E and just completely shift their way of speaking because they're so sensitive to culture and how men view things. And that's all unconscious.
That's because women play chess and men play checkers.
I still don't know how to play chess. Does this make me?
I don't know how to play chess.
You're playing chess in your mind. We're thinking 3 moves ahead.
Uh-huh.
Women are always thinking 3 moves ahead. Men are just trying to jump something and get a crown.
Now, speaking of thinking 3 moves ahead, I want to discuss what you're wearing. And discuss, now I said women's suffrage, but then there was a notion of there's distinction between suffrage and suffragettes. So talk about what you're wearing and that distinction.
Okay, well, these are the U.S. colors for the suffrage movement in the United States. That's purple for nobility, white for pureness, and gold for, gold.
Who doesn't want gold?
Yeah, and the movement is called suffrage. Suffragette is the name the British suffragists used for being an activist as a suffragette. Okay, so
like Mary Poppins.
Exactly, and that's why so many Americans call suffrage activists suffragettes. They're not suffragettes. British ones were, and that started because some jerk off in the British press thought they'd ridicule women and the men who supported suffrage for women by adding ETTE to it, because when you put an ETTE to something, it's cute and it's not as important, and it's kind of like it's minimizing is what it is.
Right.
And NASA originally thought they'd start calling the women astronauts astronettes, and it's like,
seriously,
really. And so it's kind of a losing battle because mainstream media refers to American suffragists as suffragettes, but if you just remember that suffragist is gender neutral, then that helps you remember.
Gender neutral, so men could be suffragists.
Absolutely, and were. And we would think about it. How do you win the vote if you can't vote for it?
Exactly. We had to get men to vote for the right for women to vote.
Exactly. And in England, George Bernard Shaw, John Stuart Mill, some of the biggest, most intellectual, important men were absolutely pro women's vote. And so the press establishment men didn't like that, so they started making fun of them and calling them suffragettes.
Got it. So it really is a derogatory term.
In a way, but the British suffragists just said, you know what, we're not going to fight them. Let's run with it. It's fine.
No skin off our teeth. We're still voting.
Yeah. Yeah. So you pick your battles.
Exactly. Mia and I are just creating some content around this whole idea. I mean, we're women's empowerment. I feel like, we could just celebrate women all the time, and we do. But we were talking about, some of the historic women, like, for example, the three women from Hidden Figures, Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, and Dorothy Vaughan, who, this just came out in a movie, 2 or 3 years ago, about NASA scientists who were women, and Black women at that, during the 60s. And then Dottie Kamenschek, who was a baseball player, and that, I thought that was really funny because I just created a meme on her. And of course she's wearing a little baseball skirt. Like, really, you're going to slide into home plate wearing a fucking skirt?
And they did.
And they did. They're like, okay, fine, we will. We'll get more bruises, but we'll still going to play ball. But really, we couldn't wear the same, knickers or whatever they call the baseball pants. I mean, eventually, obviously, but at that time.
Because they wanted to sell the flesh involved with seeing women with skirts.
Right.
On.
It has to be sexy in order for the male participant or the male, spectators to come.
Right.
So it becomes this little, So, I mean, let's talk about that. What makes us unique? I mean, we are powerful. We do have these qualities about us that you discuss, but, what makes us uniquely different? Is it because we kind of have this thing that men call sex appeal, or what is that? What makes us uniquely different? Or I feel like it's a repeat to the question, but I feel like there's also a flip side to that.
Well, there are all sorts of angles on that. Women have been given permission to be powerful with their breedability quotient. I call it the BQ. So while they're still fertile, they're considered to be valuable. And the more traditionally and conventionally good looking they are, the more access they have to powerful men. And I don't make women wrong for using whatever power they have. And if that's because they're gorgeous, great. I still want to get to them and enroll them in empowering other people through their beauty. Because, hey, but just know it's a commodity that is going to bite you in the ass at some point. And if you commodify it, be ready to commodify power that you've learned from the power that looks give you. So, and I'm really now on a anti-ageist thing too, because now that I'm white-haired, I'm really being expected to go to pasture. And it's like, well, screw you. You haven't seen anything yet. I mean, it's like, and the time to fight ageism is when you're not aged, when you're still young, because if you're lucky, ageism is coming for you.
Well, we have a very powerful conversation about age coming up in our future episodes.
Oh, great.
So it's perfect that you're talking about that.
Yeah. And ageism is a form of sexism, because to value somebody up to a certain age and then expect them to go away is, that's sexism.
Well, and it's different between men and women. Men aging is viewed differently than women aging.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's saying, oh, men get better with age. No, women do.
I just
we outgrow your bullshit.
I consider myself a fine wine.
Yes.
The older I am, the better I'm gonna taste.
That's right. That's right. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, by the way, the colors for the British suffrage movement were green, purple, and white. So if you see any memorabilia like at a flea market and it's green, white, and purple, buy it and I'll reimburse you.
Green, white, and purple. Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep an eye out. And if any of our viewers see that, please email us and let us know so we can help Ellen out.
Yay! Or this color.
Okay, absolutely. So one last question, and I think this is just a great little way to end this conversation. I feel like we've already said this already, but why celebrate us?
Well, in a way, we're a male worshiping society. We, every sports event in some ways that's on mainstream television is a celebration of men. Sporting events that are ubiquitous celebrates men's strength and men's strategizing and men's playfulness and all that stuff. And really, I'm just tired of being in the bleachers. And, basically it was okay to be a cheerleader, but no, you can't go out and play the game. You have to have your back to us and cheer us on. And it's like, yeah, not so much, and Title IX, a lot of people don't realize just how important that's been to women's empowerment. Title IX, forbids discrimination by institutions that have any government money. Yep. And that was mostly applied to sports, but it applies in other ways too. I wish I had that in theater, because I was a theater geek. And oh God, I got so sick of all these plays having 2 parts for women and 8 parts for men, so much that they had to go raid the choir or raid band or raid the sports departments to get enough men to cast the play. Meanwhile, there are more girls in the theater department than there are boys. And it's like, what's wrong with this picture? And it really boiled down to, I did not get the same quality of education that my male counterparts got.
Right.
Because, it's not an accident that they call it a lead. But so celebrating women requires to have the pendulum go the other way a little bit until we're equal in, day to day. Like you said at the beginning, it's like, yeah, I wish it were every month. Yeah, me too. And, so celebrating men is part of the background, that's how it is, and not so much for women. So we got to celebrate the guts it took and the courage it took. And man, we need all hands on deck with the global challenges we have. We need for girls and women to feel like they can, and I'm not going to use a baseball metaphor, step up to the stove. I've never played baseball. I'm not going to use baseball metaphors. I'm not going to step up to a baseball plate. I'm going to step up to the stove or step up to the buffet.
I like buffet because there's like more variety there, but right, all hands on deck, right?
Yeah, women need to come together 100%. Women need to come together. We've got to stop fighting each other. Stop the girl on girl crime, and let's just support each other.
I'm gonna interfere in that idea for a second.
Please.
Because women have the right to be as individual and as much of an asshole as men do. You're never going to have all women unify. You just aren't, because we're all so different. And if a woman has been raised in a evangelical home where the man is the head of the household and her most important relationship is with her church, she's not going to sign up with unifying with us. And that's her right. And I've stopped trying to change people's minds that are so not where I'm at. I've been looking for the on the fence people who don't know what they think.
Good point.
And we don't expect all men to unify on anything. We give them the luxury of being individuals, and they don't, okay, all men do this. It's like, that sounds absurd. And I don't mean to call you on being absurd, Mia, because it's a, I think, common misperception that women are going to unify. I don't think so, but hey, prove me wrong.
I don't think it's absurd. And I think maybe there's a misunderstanding of what I'm calling for. I'm not calling for women to just support each other blindly and take on each other's views. I'm saying it's coming with that understanding that you're a different human being than I am, but I'm not going to, if I don't want to support you and lift you up, I'm at least not going to hurt you.
Right.
Stop fighting, stop competing, stop comparing,
Yeah, I think they're going to
stay in your own lane.
I don't know. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, that's okay. You can have
be
different views and still support each other.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, there's more introspection on this when we open up the conversation on feminism and just, looking at, and maybe that's another segment, Mia, is like how women have this individuality and also, this kind of separate idea of not, being a part of the mass.
I think that it's a double standard that I hear so many women going, oh, she did that and she's a woman. And it's like, yeah, she did that because she has different priorities.
Right.
It's like, I'm just never shocked at human behavior because people will do whatever they think is probably going to be better for them in the long run, even if in the short term it's
right.
Melania.
Well, this was super exciting to talk about with you. I know you're getting a lot of massive emails as we've been talking, so we'll wrap this up. But do you want to plug your book where we could find it?
Yes, my book is readily available on Amazon.com, and my movie is available on Tubi TV.
We're also going to direct people to your organization, which is the, I know the acronym is NWHA, the National Women's History Alliance. So you can learn more about that organization and what you guys stand for.
Right. Well, thank you for having me.
Ellen, you were fantastic.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It was such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Mia, and you too, likewise.
And we just loved having you on Diva Talk, and hopefully we'll have you on maybe some future episodes of Diva Talk, but
stay tuned for season 4 and our next conversation about age.